either as an individual contributor or as a manager in training, you still want to walk up the steps, and I'll tell you why and how to do that. Now, the freedom scale's got two basic components. 5 steps, but two components. We got wait until instructed and then ask what to do. All right, and the bright line is right there. All right. Now, remember our initial vignette with Mr. Willis, and he ambushed me out of his cubicle, asking me what to do. Or worse, now, after asking me what to do, I took the monkey off his back. The monkey left, but actually I took that monkey. Now he is waiting to be told what to do. Right now, he's waiting and he's asking what to do. Now listen, friends, I've got 5 small children at home. I don't need any children at work. This is how children behave. They won't do anything to instruct you, but they'll ask you what to do. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? If I need that all the time, I don't need that at work. Now this is a bad place to be. 2 reasons. If you're an individual contributor, and you can see this isn't a secret. If you're waiting to be told what to do, if you're surfing the internet, if you're doing your second life at work or a third life at work, and if you're blogging, if you're waiting to be told what to do, or if you're constantly asking your boss what to do, that means that your boss may be an amateur, might be an amateur boss, but probably the manager doesn't have confidence in your competence, or maybe even your character. So if you are down here where you're waiting to be told what to do, or you're always asking what to do, get yourself out of there. This is a horrible place to be. If there's ever a downsizing in your group, if you're down here at 4 or 5, you're going to be the first to be fired. Wasn't doing anything. Or if you're always asking what to do, if you're always bothering me, boy, anybody that bothers me with questions all the time, I'd want to fire him, just get rid of him. I don't have time for that. Managers don't have time for that. So we're going to move up the freedom scale. Now, this is also a way to force creativity on the team. If you're a manager, I can train you and your team to be creative. You're saying, oh, Professor Yoest, that's nonsense. You can't train a unit, a group of people, an individual. You can't train them to be creative, can you? That's a lie, friends. You can train a group of people or an individual to be creative. It can be trained. They'll tell you it's an art because they want to have high fees for either consultants or academia. To make it complicated, it's not. It's truth. It's simple. You can train people to be creative simply by outlawing 4 and 5 on the freedom scale. That they don't ask me what to do, and you don't wait to be told. Okay? There are caveats for asking what to do. We'll talk about that if there's time. But as a rule, don't be pestering your boss with questions like that or sit around and wait to be told what to do. We're going to move up the scale. Now here's what we're going to do. Either as a manager, I'm going to have my people do this, or if I'm an individual contributor, I'm going to behave like this. So even if your manager is an amateur, which many of you may have, or doesn't have confidence in your competence or character, you can train your boss. Remember, you can manage your staff or you can manage your boss. I'm going to show you how to manage your boss. Now, Mr. Willis, remember in the opening vignette, jumped out of the cubicle. Boss, we've got a problem. He now has been through this class. He's not going to say that. He's not going to use the second person plural. He's going to say, I have a problem, boss. The truck broke down around 7. I've evaluated these options. I've done a little bit of research. I've contacted the customer, and I got these 5 options that I think we should do. I'm going to recommend to you, boss, that we do option A. And I'm going to say, gosh, one of 3 things is going to happen. I'm going to say, Mr. Willis, do some more research. Mr. Willis, have you considered option D? But most of the time, if it's not going to have a high impact on the organization, I'm going to say, great work, Mr. Willis. Yeah, go to option A. And then he makes a recommendation. He's ID'd the problem. He's done some research. Then he comes up with options, and then he makes a recommendation. He makes a recommendation, and then he takes action. Then he'll check with me, boss, this is what I recommend. If you're a manager, and if you're managing your manager, the only thing that your boss should do is make a decision. He should only make decisions. That's all that he should be doing. Your boss shouldn't be identifying problems. Your boss shouldn't be doing the research. Your boss shouldn't be developing options. If he's doing all that, what does he need you for? I want staff to do this because I want them self-reliant. I don't want them boss-reliant. I want them to be able to have initiative. Does that make sense? Of course, it's simple, isn't it? It's so simple you will have never heard it anyplace else. So you have to go, see, if you want a complicated solution, you can go to Harvard or the University of Virginia, though it's really complicated down there. Or you can come right here to Northern Virginia Community College, where it's very simple, because it's true. Now, we're going to ask them for action. Since the individual contributor, the staffer, is closest to the problem, he's already going to know probably the best way to solve it. Now let's move up the scale. The next step, if I'm the manager, the individual contributor, is to take the action. And you'll notice there's action. There's no act down here. Okay, there's no action down here. We're not doing that. But up here, we're going to act, but then advise immediately. I'll go through the same scenario with Mr. Willis. He jumps out, identifies the problem, done some research, come up with some options, has a recommendation. But here, on step 2, he does the action, but then he comes and tells me. He says, boss, I've identified this problem, done some research, came up with 3 options. I went and took this course of action. Problem solved, customer's happy, but I thought I'd let you know. And I'll say, great work. I have the active support of my team. See, this isn't hard, is it? All right? Now, you've heard the cliche that managers and enlightened academics, you must empower your subordinates. That's nonsense. There's no empowerment. If they're down here at 4 and 5, I don't want to trust my children with anything that's big or important. That empowerment is earned by the staffer. Well, except for you, James. Yeah, I trust you. The staffer has to earn this. The staffer, Mr. Willis, has to sell me. I don't sell him on anything. Remember, I could fire this guy. This is Commonwealth of Virginia. Is that well? I could fire him tonight. I don't have to have him around. He has to sell me. I don't have to buy, and I don't have to buy what he's selling. I want him to make recommendations up to me. I don't have to take any of them. Because remember, I'm the manager. I set the priorities, and I can fire him, and I can cut his budget, or I can promote him, or I can give him a big raise. I want to develop staff just like Mr. Willis that will actively support me. Now, he's taken action, then advised me immediately. Now, this is loosely based on discipline. Now, the discipline in a business sense is actually best modeled after discipline in the Army. Now, I was a captain in the Army and combat arms, and one of the first things we learned about discipline is that it had 2 parts. It was initially, the discipline is the prompt obedience to orders. That's the compliance part. We want people to do what they're told. The second part of discipline is a little more subtle. It's the initiation of appropriate action in the absence of orders. Prompt obedience to orders, you do what you're told, but the initiation of appropriate action in the absence of orders. So in the absence of orders, the team will still take an appropriate action, will still support me. Okay. Now let's get to the top of this. Finally, Mr. Willis might go ahead and go through all those steps, but act on his own. Just simply solve the problem and then routinely report. There may be a staff meeting at the end of the week. There may be a footnote in the quarterly report. But he is then acting. Oh, see that word act? He's acting. He's taking action here. He's acting on his own. This is where everybody wants to be. This is where I want a deputy. This is a deputy. This is person that runs the unit in my absence. So if I go on vacation, I can depend upon Mr. Willis as my deputy to do it as I would do if I had